it's just good. Right. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for coming. I've forgotten how to start again. So the first thing is we have fire safety protocol. If there is a fire, you must go back out the door you came in, or through the door over there. We do not have a drill planned, so really do leave if the alarm goes off. We also have a recording protocol. Does anyone else wish to record the meeting? No? So I'm recording the meeting in a personal capacity, but if anybody said something they wish it deleted from the video, I'll make sure that happens, and only we councillors will be actually filmed, but the rest of you may be in the audio, unless you ask. Otherwise, I've not got my battery pack, so it could run out after about an hour or so, so I'll just let you know. Where are we now? Oh, the last thing is everyone make sure their phones are off. I should always have that in. So I saw professional councils. Other councils do that, we should do that as well. Now, I've done it in the wrong order, but the first thing should have been public questions. So we've got 20 minutes allocated if anyone wants to ask a question, make a point, give some praise. Anyone? Oh, yes please. Would you like to take name?
Me. Yeah, Cheryl Scott. I'm just turning my phone off, just hang on a minute. Thank you, councillors. Many of you will know me because I stood for election. You may have gathered from that literature that I was the former town clerk for Keynsham Town Council. And I noticed that on the agenda tonight under confidential business, you are looking to potentially agree an recruitment for a new town clerk, potentially discuss whether to have a deputy town clerk or a financial officer, and that further down the agenda, you're looking at potentially appointing people to actually review the staffing structure. I would like to make the point, first of all, that obviously because of my history, I also applied for the previous town clerk's position, so you need to be able to take this in context. So I don't want there to be any, people thinking that I'm trying to organise things, but certainly I would just like to make the point that you're a new council and you said it was time for a change. My concern is that the way the agenda is structured is that you are appointing potentially or putting things in potentially the wrong order. You've already identified that it was difficult to attract a clerk in the previous round. There have been considerable additions to the role in the last 2 or 3 years as you've acquired more assets. I would suggest therefore that potentially another order could be considered, which would be firstly to regrade, if it needs regrading, the town clerk's role before you advertise it. That may help you with recruiting experienced candidates. Once you have the town clerk appointed, it would then be prudent, I think, to discuss with the new appointee about the role of a deputy town clerk, financial officer, depending upon what they felt the workload required. And also at that point, in consultation with them and other staff who are still with the council, to then look at potentially a staff structure review. Should you feel that that might be a good way of doing things, you can suspend standing orders and alter the order on the agenda paper, rather than leaving the staff structure review till last. And there are companies around that will do both regrading and also staff reviews. So potentially there are at least 3 or 4 companies you could approach. So you could actually agree to do a regrading first and alter the agenda paper. That's just my suggestion.
Thank you very much. Thank you. That's very interesting. Do you want to do anything to follow up with that, or is that something that we can discuss later on in the meeting? Yeah.
I think it makes sense and it's the most logical way of approaching it.
So you're proposing?
I would wait until we get to confidential.
Yeah, I was going to say that we don't actually have to do anything at the moment, but it's a very good suggestion.
Thanks, Jill.
Thank you. Yeah. Would anyone else like to ask a question? Okay, thanks for that. Now the next item is really chaplain's thought today, but unfortunately our chaplain isn't here today. But instead I wanted to say one statement to everybody really, and that's to express my most extreme sadness at the news that our colleague and friend Richard Robertson passed away last month. Now Richard was one of the founding members of this town council, and I've known him pretty much every single council meeting since 2017. Now Richard was never a man to rush his words, but he was very intelligent and very considerate, and imparted his great wisdom and experience with skill and clarity, and he did a huge amount of service to our community, which we should all be thankful, and he will be greatly missed. So my thoughts and prayers remain with Linda and her two sons. That very sad news. Right, on to item 26. Have we got any apologies for absence?
Charlotte,
Yes.
she has COVID.
Oh, she's had a test positive, was she? Have we decided that's a reasonable reason?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Item 27, would anyone like to declare, make a declaration of interest? No? Do remember, if you do think of something interesting later on, you may declare it as it comes up. Item 28 is to resolve to exclude members of the press and public for items that must be discussed under confidentiality. Do you have a proposer for that? Do you have a seconder? All in favour? And I would just comment that the discussion has to be done under confidentiality, but the resolutions aren't, and the outcome of the discussions will always be published and aren't confidential. But because of the nature of some of the things, unfortunately, they have to be done under confidential discussion. Now, the next item is going to be item 29, council meeting minutes. Actually, before we do that, I'm going to have to, I don't know if I have to do a proposal for this, but we thought we might bring Nicola's project manager report forward, because Nicola has to go. So would anyone object if Nicola moved our presentation to the next item? Is that okay?
Yeah.
Great, thank you. So, Nicola.
Thank you very much. So yes, if I just go through the report as presented, it was good to be able to share with some of the new members a visit to site as well. Obviously, as a live building site, we're still looking forward to that point when people can be given unfettered access, but it was good to be able to share that with you today. So in terms of the progress to date, the most significant development is that the floor is now in, which doesn't in itself sound that significant, but given the challenges of getting that level access and incorporating the radon pumps as well, having that floor in, and therefore the ability to build the scaffolding off of that and put the structural steels in, which will eventually support the assembly hall and above, is a real milestone actually. So that's a great one to have arrived at. In the report it was saying it was due to take place, and as you've seen today, that was actually very quick, and the concrete floor slab is now in place. The phase 2 detail designs, so these are for the extension at the rear and some of the roof works and attic works, are pretty much complete. So the next job for my colleague Alex, who's acting as quantity surveyor, is to take those detailed drawings and produce a comprehensive, updated cost estimate based on the detailed drawings as opposed to the planning stage drawings, which are lacking some of that detail. In terms of programme, we were initially, back when the contract started in October, targeting an end date of May. As you will observe, thanks to various challenges that have arisen during the build, this is not going to be complete. We're looking now, the contractors working weekends as well in an effort to accelerate this, so we're thinking more likely September time, But again, a really important milestone within that is that the structural steel should be in place by mid-July, and that's the point at which there will be safe access again to the rest of the building on an agreed basis. So that again will be a major milestone. In terms of phase 2, as I've mentioned, the detailed drawings are nearly ready now, which means they go over to the quantity surveyor, who rather than just looking at the previous costs and applying an inflationary uplift, will go right back to the start with it again, go through every line, chapter and verse, and be able to come back to you, perhaps not for July, but certainly in time for a September meeting, with a comprehensively updated set of costs for phase 2, which then can be the basis of your planning going forwards. In terms of the expenditure for phase 1, as you'll see, we're still reporting that we're within budget and that some of the contingency is left. We've done an awful lot of the opening up works now, which means there's a good level of certainty, but with historic buildings, obviously, we're always cautious. So we've still got to finish, particularly around the lift shaft. We've still got some work to do, and there's some concern that one of the iron lintels there might need a bit of work that's holding up the external wall by the lift shaft. And also at the moment we're discussing with the contractor, because the programme's in delay, there's that discussion around the extension of time and what portion of that is attributable to the contractor and which is attributable to some of those structural challenges we've encountered. So that we've just had the formal application for the extension of time last week. So that's then the architect works through that as contract administrator to work out what a fair settlement would be in terms of those additional costs of being on site longer. But as soon as we have an agreed proposal for that, obviously that comes before council again, so that you know what's been established there. Again, in terms of phase 2 costs, it's all about getting those detailed designs so that comprehensive update of the previous estimate can be updated. In terms of variations, there's a long list, as usual, of all the various additional costs that we've encountered. As you'll know, an awful lot of those are related to structural work, which we've spoken about a lot. Some of them to be confirmed, for example, the extension of time settlement and what's agreed as fair in terms of that cost. And then that shows that contingency remaining just under 34,000. And that's a quick trot through the report.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, so now the next item, I was going to say if I accidentally tried to repeat Nicholas, point that out, which would be good. Thank you so much. So the next item I have is item 29, which is confirm the accuracy and sign the minutes. Now, we have been asked to give a small modification. Is that right, Paul?
Yeah, it's just to, with regard to the code of conduct, which I did send, or I think Joe actually sent out the email, because the previous version I had was dated 2012, which is probably has probably been upgraded since then. So we'd asked the monitoring officer for a revised code of conduct, because obviously she has to oversee it, and we got one from the Local Government Association, which I have sent out to everybody. And the reason it's quite important is because you do need to complete your register of interests, but in order to do that it would be probably sensible to have an up-to-date code of conduct to sign up to. So I would suggest that council supersedes the adoption of that was agreed at the last meeting and replaced with the local government, the local government associations general code of conduct.
Just a point on that. Is that, are we talking, that's not really an amendment to the minutes of the previous meeting, is it? That's in addition to the minutes of this meeting.
Yeah, so it's basically updating the code that was to acknowledge that you're updating the code of conduct from the previous one to the new version.
So it should be limited in this meeting's minutes rather than adjustment to the previous meeting.
The problem is that it wasn't on the agenda, so it needs.
Oh, it wasn't on the previous agenda.
It was on the previous agenda.
We adopted those policies. We adopted. It's come to light with the code of conduct.
Oh, just to repeat what I said, I understand that. What I'm saying is, the minutes of the last meeting reflect the decisions made at the last meeting. This is a decision being taken in this meeting, so it should be minuted and agreed in this meeting, not an adjustment to the previous minutes.
So you're right, that happens very rarely, doesn't it? So you minute amendments to the minutes as well. That's how it works, isn't it? So, but I think that makes sense to me, just about it. How's everyone else looking? Stunned?
I would suggest in future it may be better to add it as an agenda item on, and then it can be minuted correctly as an agenda item.
Perhaps. It was a bit late for it. I think,
Yeah, no, I totally accept that. It's just the we never got a response. We were asked to go to ALCA, which is the Avon Local Council Association, and they didn't reply, so it sort of fell off our radar. So it is down to me that it hasn't been chased up. But it now has, and we just need to. I just need to make sure that you've got the right code.
Okay, so basically, just to ask everyone else, are there any other issues anyone has with the previous minutes?
No.
That's fine. And are we kind of happy then that we're basically in the minute here that we're approving a different code of conduct?
Has anyone read it to approve it?
Well,
I've not read it, so I'm not sure what I'm approving.
so I believe it's the code of conduct that was already shared previously.
Well, it's not. I mean, you could. The issue is that I would suspect that the forms that go with the previous code of conduct are no longer relevant because things have moved on. You need a code of conduct. You can adopt a new code of conduct subject to further scrutiny by your policy and whatever finance and policy committee. But you do need a code of conduct because you do need, as councillors, to build out your declaration of interest form within 28 days of election. So I would suggest, rather than being too pedantic about it, is to adopt the code as it is. It is written by the Local Government Association. It has been recommended by the Bailiff's monitoring officer. I'm not trying to do an underhand thing to slip something in that is possibly not kosher, and we just adopt it, sort it out, and then at your leisure throughout the year you can review the code of conduct because there are 2 or 3 options out there. My personal option has always been to use the one of the local the principal authority because he didn't.
What I'm saying is, I mean, actually, I'm happy with that. But perhaps all we did was approve the code of conduct. Now, if there's a new revision of that, that's not necessarily an issue. Documents should be amended and up issued. What it does demonstrate is the issue we raised last time, which is this. When we were asking to review and approve documents, where we shouldn't, if we had reviewed it, perhaps we would have said, well, actually, we need to look at the revision. But I think documents will change revision, and our library of documents needs to be kept up to date.
Yes,
and
so that's something that's gone slightly.
And we're approving a code of conduct. I think that's provided we keep our documents up to date.
Should be fine. I think I totally get the thing as well, that generally the code of conduct should be the same as the one in the unitary authority, or because they actually have a monitoring officer who enforces that code of conduct.
Yeah, Martin already said that they'd already amended theirs anyway.
So, okay.
Sorry, Gordon, just before you go, it's
Absolutely.
not on the last minutes, but I just noticed that we need to change the header on the agenda. Unless we do want to re-elect Linda as our mayor.
Well, yeah, it could happen.
We can do a vote on that now.
I could just change my name.
Oh, no.
Change it for this one.
Well spotted. Okay, further to that,
Draw a line through it quick.
further to that, no one else needs to comment on the minutes from last month. Can we have a proposer for this? Well done, Tim, thank you. Can we have a second bit? Thank you, Martin. And can we all be in favour of those minutes? Thank you very much, everyone. Now, so that was item 29, now up to item 30, which is representatives on external bodies.
Okay.
Yeah, there's lots of work.
We've got pretty much most covered, but we're definitely short on some things. But Mike, you've not got back to me yet, so you're happy to go on the town trust. Was there anything else that you're happy to represent?
I need a little bit of a break from it.
So you can, okay, right, so if I just run through, so on Alca and Nalk we need 2 more, the Carnival Association we need 2, the Community Association we need 2, the Community Trust we need 1 more, there's 3 on that I think. We've got Gordon, Martin and Alan.
I thought we had 4.
I'm on the community
Yeah.
Are you on that one, Linda? Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, Dad, your list doesn't match this list that came with the agenda. Which I have written down that some of the outside bodies are actually missing off this one. So I didn't know if we'd revised and we decided we were going for this list. Or if we're going for Deb's list.
I put this list together after
Yeah, and that's what I
people
thought it was working from.
Yeah.
But that doesn't match this list.
Oh right, okay. I've got to be honest, I can't ignore that because I've done this one. So, if this is wrong, then you've got to tell me as I'm going.
Well, I believe in the community association. No longer.
Right, okay. So, community, that's okay, then that's fine, we can chop that one off.
Yeah.
So there's only 6 on this list.
Right, so I've got, okay, if I run down through, which is what I thought everyone else has said before, this is a reduced list from the last time actually, so I've knocked some off. So we've got Alcanalc, yeah. We've got CAP, that's Community and Alcohol Partnership, but we want to reinstate that, don't we?
Yeah.
Okay, there's 3 of us, that's me, Gemma and Martin.
But that's an agenda item coming up
I was going to say
anyway,
it's on
isn't
the
it?
agenda, yeah.
Well, this is outside bodies though, isn't it?
Well, it's not actually a body yet, but it will be.
External bodies, sorry, is that not it? Is that not what we're talking
Well, I think
about?
it is, but I think Sean was pointing out the fact that we actually have an agenda item to create a new.
I think you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
But I think there's an agenda item to discuss CAP later, and that
Oh,
may
right, okay,
influence who
ignore that then.
decides to sit
Okay.
on it. Yeah.
So then Midsummer Norton Community Trust, so yeah, we've got
That's
those. The Midsummer Norton Neighbourhood Development Plan, okay, so we need 1 more. We've got Charlotte, me and Tim, but we were going to talk about what the commitments were for meetings on that, weren't we?
Well, up until now they've been incredibly slim, and I don't think there'll be a huge amount of commitment to that game because most of the work we've done has been done, I think.
But we still don't have one, do we?
Well, because it's off the beams. I think it's been a final review or
Okay.
something like
But
that.
it's important that we have one
Absolutely.
to attract more.
That's a
More still money.
That's 100% correct, and that's
Absolutely.
totally true. I mean, but I'm saying a huge amount of work has gone into it, and I think it's in the final sort of stages now. That's what I understand.
So I think that's.
Yeah. But to be honest, to make it a bit easier, I will more than happily volunteer to be the 4th member of that.
Thanks.
And again, it's like any meeting. If you can't make it, you can't make it. But it's very important that we plan to 100%.
I don't mind doing that one if you
Want to, that's fine.
Oh, right.
It's something I was on the last one and didn't contribute very much to. So.
Sorry, can I just back up? Is there a carnival one then now?
No.
We're not in the Carnival Association. I don't think that one's quite as important, the Carnival.
Okay.
People feel that we certainly need to get
There is a Carnival
people-
Association.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whether we want to.
It's
But
just
it's
not on
mine.
there, it's just not on this new thing.
I put this list out because I thought that no one corrected me on it
I
previously.
think it
This
was
is
more
what we were
important when we
walking
had
over.
things like Mardi Gras going on in the town.
Oh, right, okay.
Well, we do give a considerable amount of money to the Carnival.
Yeah, that's true.
And it's an important part of the annual sort of events that happen, so it's useful. So, but nearer the time, it's seasonal, isn't it?
We got we got the town trust, so we've got me, Martin, Gemma and Mike on that, so that's done with. Parish cluster meetings. Need someone for that, whatever that is.
It's a good explanation in minutes.
Silver Valley FM. So we need 2. So you said you do that. Anyone else?
Could be one if you like.
Hmm?
Probably I'm not happy to be on one of
You
them.
want that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Silver Valley Forum.
No,
We've got
like to do
3.
that.
We've got Charlotte, Gordon and Linda.